Okay, hi. So if you're watching this, first and foremost, I want to say thank you. I don't believe I say that enough, so I'm going to try to do a better job at that. Thanks for taking this journey with me. Thanks for pushing through. I know every video is not my best work, but that's the point. Not everything we do is going to be our best work, but hopefully anything that I'm doing is helping somebody out there somewhere, and that's all that I can hope for. So I kind of just choose my topics based on what is coming up for me at the week. And so I want to make sure that I'm putting it out there for you guys too. If you've got challenges or questions or something that you're, going through or that you're curious about or you want a different perspective on, I'd be more than happy to answer questions or help you with something if you want to message me or comment or whatnot. If I know you, you can message me, text me, whatever. But I want to make sure that I'm putting this out there for you guys too. I'm really only going off of my journey because it's all I've got at the moment. But I do know that I do a lot better when I'm speaking to someone else or something else's whatever. Quite like this is I don't really know where to go with this, so I'm just gonna go ahead and get started. But surrender has been coming up for me a lot lately. I've been seeing it everywhere. I know that in my last couple videos, I think I was doing like assumptions, and I don't know if I ever came to like a solution as far as what the hell you're supposed to do with your assumptions. I never watch my videos before I post them. Sometimes I watch them after I post them, just to hear myself, and it actually helps me give myself advice, if that makes sense. But I never watch them before I post them. I just put them up. So hindsight is definitely 2020 all the time. I want to make sure that I'm kind of trying to bring it to a solution. And so with the assumptions, if I didn't wrap that up, just quickly thinking, the whole point of the making sure that you're checking your assumptions is so that you aren't filling in someone else's perspective based on your own experiences. When we do that, obviously, it's all of our own shit that we're filling it in with and what we think, that person would say or do based on our experience with that person or that thing. And so just to be sure, just to double check yourself, make sure that you're taking in other people's perspectives and not just assuming that you know their answer because you know them and what they would typically do, because people change. I know some of you out there don't believe that, but they do. We do. So that was my solution, for checking your assumptions. The reason that you would do that, because there's always more than two sides to each story. Your side and the universal side, and it wouldn't hurt to get someone or something else's perspective. All right, but I'm not going to stay there. Surrender is what keeps coming up for me lately. I've been seeing it. It's been just coming into my brain a lot. And then when I was at yoga the other day, the yoga instructor who I've taken many times, she happened to bring a brand new yoga mat in this time, and it had surrender written on it. So I thought that was quite the synchronicity. And I wanted to do a video on that because surrender is something that in my opinion, that we don't really take into consideration too much, because we look at it as giving up, or giving in. And in a sense, yes, you're right, we're right, but it's a lot more than that. It's bringing me to this quote that used to be on this painting in my gym, my old gym that I used to go to. Letting go requires more strength than holding on. And that's 1,000% accurate in my opinion and from my viewpoint. Even just think about like the people that do the rope swings, and when it's time to, you swing out over the lake and you're supposed to let go, but for some reason people just can't seem to let go when they're supposed to, and they end up like coming back and either like hitting the bank or falling, face planting in the water as they're trying to let go on their way back. It's kind of like that. It's really somewhat comical if you think about it, because it can look like that and be kind of funny, but at the same time, we've got to really understand what it's doing to us when we're trying to hold on to something that we should just surrender to. Think about what the opposite of surrender is. The opposite would be to fight, right? And so when we're fighting, we're expending a lot of energy, a lot of emotions. We're in a heightened state, fearful, aggravated, agitated, frustrated, angry. We're all of the above. Maybe not all at the same time, but we definitely go through those types of emotions, those types of feelings when we're fighting something. And I would say that it's probably the same when, just thinking about this, when you surrender. Our feels like we're built to, or as I'm kind of saying this, maybe conditioned to fight. We are a society that's addicted to chaos, so we are used to trying to fight for what we want, have the last word, not let shit go, even though we all say, let that shit go, live and let live. All of those are, sweet little concepts, but not many of us are very privy to doing that because we feel entitled to our own, stance. And you absolutely are. But if you're in a position that you don't want to be in, or a place or a relationship or a thought process or behavior patterns or whatever, if you're somewhere where you don't really want to be, or you didn't really intend to be, you just got there somehow, consider this. Your best thinking got you there. So if that's the case and you're somewhere that you don't want to be, or you're in a situation you don't want to be in, or somebody's not understanding you the way that you want them to, consider letting go, surrendering to what the universe has in store for you. And you can spread it out. The universe is my God, and people call it God, Jesus, Krishna, whatever you identify with, that's cool. But I'm not saying anybody's wrong for anything, and this is just a completely universal idea. Any higher power that you believe in, or any kind of higher energy that rules our emotions, our bodies, the moon, the sun, the tides, all nature, everything. You guys get it. I don't need to go into much about that. But if your best thinking got you where you're at, and you don't like where you're at, and you don't want to be there, please understand that your best thinking is only going to get you probably to another spot that you don't want to be in, more than likely, because when we're using our fight response, things are happening rapidly. We're thinking furiously. We're running off emotion. Fight or flight is a survival technique, a tactic, whatever. Our body sends out this stress response, releases this cortisol, and our brain, we decide internally, should we stand up and fight against this thing, or should we run for our lives and flight? And either one of those requires a significant amount of energy to do. And, while we're doing that, the emotions and the thoughts aren't stopping in our head. They're continuing to go, and they're transforming with, each unfold of the situation, each layer that we come in contact with or that we experience. So if your best thinking got you where you're at and you don't like where you're at, hi Walter, consider asking someone else's perspective or changing your perspective. And if you don't know how to change your perspective, because a lot of people don't, we're kind of set in what we want and what, we think is right because, I made it this far, right? You did. You sure did. But if you don't like where you are, then what the fuck? Like, why would you keep asking yourself for direction if you got yourself to where you never intended to be? I kind of look at life like a maze, and, there's lots of dead ends and things that we run into that we would essentially turn around and have to try a different route. And when we're kind of not asking for help, in my opinion, we're doing this blindly, as if the lights were off and you're going through a maze. Consider that for a second. How difficult would that be to go through a maze blindfolded? And to me, asking for help would be asking for a flashlight or a spotlight if you want to really, take in some other perspective. And that can be, you don't necessarily have to ask people, even though it's probably a really good idea, even just to see if they match up with where you're at, or if, they're completely in left field and you're in right field, which still is a-okay. But maybe consider people that you like what they're doing in their life, or you look up to, or you see as someone that is personally responsible, and kind of has their shit together, for lack of a better word. You can seek those people out, because if we're going to ask people that we know that we battle with, or that we know isn't really just in line with our values and really doesn't understand us, you're just looking for a fight. You're looking for yourself in the long run to say, see, I told you I shouldn't have fucking asked anyone. Don't set yourself up like that, man. Don't self-sabotage. Be wise about your choices. Be intentional about your choices. And if you don't have any safe people around because you're just living in a world full of kooks, which we all are, ask the universe, ask your higher power, ask the sun, ask the birds. I don't know, outside. Go outside and watch nature. Ask Mother Nature. She's got a lot to say. And not many people pay attention all the time to what she talks about, but she surrenders all the time. Imagine if a tree didn't surrender to the wind. What would happen? It would snap, right? But what do trees do when the wind blows? They kind of wave and they wobble and they bend and they don't break all the time. So they're surrendering to that. Rocks surrender to water. It doesn't mean that the rock just gets washed away. It just means that it gets worn down a little bit, or it changes direction, or changes shape. It changes. And so change is a great thing. A lot of people, that's such a mix. I'm like just getting so many mixed messages right now in my brain. I'm thinking of people writing in yearbooks when they're like, don't ever change. Haley, XOXO. Don't ever change. We're in high school when you wrote that, or middle school, or whatever. Why the fuck wouldn't I change? I'm so happy I'm not the person I was in high school, and that I'm not the same person I was in my 20s. 20s was messy and a lot of learning, and I'm still learning. I'll always be learning, I'm hoping. An eternal student. I love being a professional student, as I consider myself. But to surrender to what is, surrender to what's happening, surrender to what hasn't happened, surrender to your solution or someone else's solution, because when you're fighting it, or when we're fighting it, we're expending so much energy trying to prove this and prove that and prove them and prove us and we and everything else, right or wrong. But what we're really doing is focusing on all of those little things that are kind of like disengaging us from our flow. And so, we get kind of sidetracked with all these little obstacles, or these, oh, well, once I get over this, then I'll be on my way. Or once I get this done, then I'll figure it out. There's always going to be something or someone in the way, because damn well that you've probably said that before, once I get past this, then I'll be able to do la la la. Well, once you got over that and you were on your way to la la la, was there probably another thing that was standing in your way, or another situation that popped up that you didn't anticipate? Hi, Callie. So to, just surrender to what it is. Let the flow take you where you want to go. Consider how much energy and emotion you're expending and bringing into the situation by fighting it. If it's not getting you where you want to be, surrender. Let that shit go. The sooner you let go, you can kind of just float on, right? You can flow, you can float, you can just kind of be free. And it's it's like falling out of an airplane. It's scary as shit, but it's a pretty wild ride. You probably haven't experienced it yet if you've just fought your way to get to where you're at. And, you know, we have some sort of like sense of pride when we do that. Like I said earlier, you know, it's like, well, you know, I got myself here and I made it this far. You guys are going to knock over my camera. The dogs are here. You know, if that's where you're at, ask yourself, what could you gain by surrendering? And what will you lose by surrendering? Because both of those things could have positive and negative, you know, qualities or attributes, whatever you want to call it. To the, you know, that those lists could look both positive and negative, and that's exactly it. They're not supposed to be all good and all bad. Nothing is all good or all bad. The idea that too much of a good thing is never a good thing. That's 100% correct. You know, cupcakes are good, but too many cupcakes ain't so great. And it's a feels like a tug of war within yourself when we're trying to battle something because we feel like we're supposed to fight for it, but maybe just surrendering to it is what we should try. If you've never tried to surrender to something, I would recommend it. Recommend it. I would definitely suggest doing that. See, you know, where your emotions take you. If they take you to a place of fear, surrender to the fear. When we're trying to fight the fear, we're trying to pick out things that we think are worth fighting over or fighting about. And when we're doing that, we're just distracting ourselves with something probably that we don't really have much control over. So surrender to what could be. I thought this video was going to be a lot better than this, but I'm stuck and I'm sweating so bad right now, and that's kind of all I can think about right now. So I'll probably pop on here with another one, because usually my second one is better than my first one. And I haven't recorded in a couple days, and I'm still not liking talking to this camera only. It's very odd for me. Surrender to the process. Trust the process. Surrender to what could be, what might be, what isn't yet. Ask for multiple perspectives. And like I said, it doesn't have to be from people that you know aren't in line with what you're doing or where you're going or how you think. But also, that's not a bad idea to ask those people just to check yourself, to make sure that you're not getting too full of your own solution and your own will. You know, you're letting your will kind of take the wheel and drive where you want to go, because when we're doing that, we're not surrendering. We're not just kind of letting go and letting things flow. All right, I'm going to stop this because I'm just going to ramble for another 2 minutes, and it's already been 18 minutes. God, I can talk. So I'm just going to surrender to this sweat and to this not the best video, but this is my process. And if you're on this journey with me and you're watching this, thank you, matcha. Whatever. Thanks, y'all.